Hello everyone. So the Student Art Podcast is sponsored by the Rookies. There's simply no better way to launch your career and start sharing your amazing work online. Throughout their website, you can create your own portfolio, enter lots of contests that take place all year round, and has an incredible community for non-professional digital artists. From hobbyists, students, self-taught artists, to even people wanting to make a career change, the Rookies community brings everyone together, allowing you to be surrounded by people on the same journey as you. So if you want to showcase your portfolio, grow as an artist, and track your progress, sign up to the Rookies today. Hello everyone, welcome to the Student Art Podcast. I'm your host Baxter, and today is episode 59 of the series. By gosh, are we getting through these podcasts? It's great to see, and I'm very grateful for everyone who's been supporting the channel, everyone who's subscribed, and everyone who's tuned in to the series so far. As always, the Student Art Podcast is a weekly series where I bring on guests from the film and game industries to talk about their journey and thoughts on student education. But also, you also have episodes in which you're just listening to me talk about adventures, stories, you name it, things that inspire me and things that have helped me develop as a person and most importantly, obviously developed as an artist as well. And all these things over the years and all the times that all my experiences, etc., have led me to this moment and has led me to doing these podcasts, because when it comes to helping people, there's nothing more fulfilling. And when it comes to all the times that I've obviously talked to so many guests and stuff, you pick up things, you learn as you go along, and you go through experiences as we all do. We all learn things at a different pace. Life has its mysterious ways of teaching us different lessons, etc., giving us idols to be inspired by, people to look up to, things to pursue, whether it's a passion, and whether it's food to eat, you name it, or sports to do and take part. There's so many things about life that helps us grow and achieve our goals. And that's the thing about today's episode on the podcast, is that I really want to talk about idols and people who we look up to, people who we listen to, and most importantly, the information we're getting from these people and understanding the rights and wrongs, and most importantly, how we bring this into our life in terms of the information that they've learned from their experiences to propel us forward in the right direction, whether it's to enhance our artistic skills, whether it's our mentality, our personal kind of struggle with things. There's so many things that we learn from people, and that's why I've always loved to talk, and talking's always been my thing, talking to people. But above all, when it comes to talking, one of the best skills you can ever learn is listening, and being able to listen to people, understand people, learn how to break things down, acknowledge the correct information, or at least acknowledge the information that's going to guide you in the right direction. And over the years, I've obviously we all have different people that we learn things from. And one thing about me, if you don't know already, is I'm very kind of driven by just the concept of being happy, and I'm a very happy person in the sense that I love what I do, and I've always approached life with a live life with no regrets kind of approach. And I don't really recall when I started thinking this mentality, in the sense that obviously we all go through certain experiences and stuff, and but I don't ever look back. I understand that we have to acknowledge how far we've come, and that that's the thing. There's so many things that we can't control at times, and it's okay. So if anything's ever happened in your life and you're wondering, how do I get out of this? How do I propel myself forward? Just remember that the only way is up from here, and that's the great thing about it. And you have to make the most of the life that you have, and whether it's making the art that you feel passionate about, not letting anyone dictate that, and listening to the right people, getting the right group of people around you on a daily basis, and getting rid of the people that you feel are a burden to you. What are the people who are slowing you down? Do you actually need them in your life? Are they detaching you from your goals and the thing that truly brings you fulfillment in your life? And today I'm going to be talking about a bunch of names, quite common names as well, that I've said in the podcast before. However, I want to kind of talk about key aspects of their character as people that has helped me just grow as a person. And like that's the thing as well, because obviously like I have a massive passion for movies. I love watching films, and particularly I love watching true stories about films, and most importantly watching documentaries. So obviously films are great, uh, but watching a documentary and finding the true information from the person themselves, and watching their journey open up, etc., and seeing how they've progressed, but most importantly hearing about how they got there, listening to their struggles and so forth. And like that's the beauty of it, is that everyone sometimes thinks that things just happen magically, or things just magically appear, but all these people I'm talking about today, they've worked really hard, they've gone through just an adventure, they've done so many amazing things, and it's crazy to see what happens once you start realizing how simple life actually can be if you just break things down to just basic goals, going with the thing that's just obvious, going with your gut, understanding just the truth and being honest with yourself. And I get it, like a lot of people sometimes struggle with it, because obviously we all go through different life experiences, some far worse than others, and I understand that. And you have to be grateful with what you've got, but you also have to realize that even if you are going through a hard time, there's always a way to get out of it and improve yourself, and you take it step at a time, day at a time. And the one thing I want to talk about today, like I said, is the people that I made sure to listen to, the people that I surrounded myself by, whether it's just by listening to them on a talk show or a podcast, or watching them pursue their ambitions. And this, like the list, you'll enjoy the list, and there might be a few names that you've never heard of as well, but a lot of them are very famous as well. So stay tuned, and I really hope you enjoy the show. But before we even say that, as always, if you're tuning in, make sure to subscribe. It'll be much appreciated. And leave a like if you enjoyed today's video. And write in the comments down below who's your idol, who's the person who's inspired you the most. So with all that said, let's get right into the podcast. So today I'm going to start off with, I'm going to go through a list, and I'm going to cover certain just points about each person. I'm not going to go into crazy depth about certain things, but I want to talk about main things I learned from people. And some of them are going to be quite obvious, but once you kind of start building the dots, you begin to realize why I think the way I am, and why I've approached things this way, and how I've developed as a person. So starting off, we're going to talk about the legend. We're going to talk about the one and only Steven Spielberg. Hell yeah, that's what we're talking about. Spielberg, if you ever want to come on the podcast, oh my gosh, if I was able to talk to Spielberg in real life, life is complete. I'm sorted. Everything is just hunky-dory. I don't know. The guy is a legend, and I've watched his movies for so many years, and just like all his films from E.T. to Jaws, and the way he films things, and that's the thing I want to talk about when it comes to Spielberg. It's the fact that he's always in the moment, and he's always sort of almost like a so one of his famous documentaries I watched about him. So I've watched literally every documentary possible about Spielberg, and read so much into his work and his approach to filming, and how he directs his audience, and how he brings his characters to life through cinematography. And the one thing that he always brings up when he's talking to people is the fact that he's always basically been a kid, because he always focuses on just pure enjoyment, and like enjoying being in the moment. And that's the thing, is like you have to realize that you have to treasure the moments that you have, and make the most of the things that you've got around you. And like that's the thing. So when I'm working on my craft, like for example, I'm working on this submarine project at the moment. Like it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like as long as you can see it and kind of approach it. Like for example, when I'm working on my model, I'm just geeking out. I'm in the zone. I know how I feel about modeling, and I know how much I care about creating a story, creating a piece that all works together, and shows function, and just appreciation of design and style, and making everything work cohesively together as a whole. And when it all falls into fruition and just comes together as a piece, like I just start geeking out so much. And that's what I love about art, and most importantly, that's what I love about what Spielberg does when he's performing, because he's kind of performing when he's doing his like it's an art cinematography. And when I was watching it was this awesome documentary. It wasn't a documentary at the time. It was literally two of my favorite directors. We had Peter Jackson and Spielberg talking together about Tintin, and how they were going to write the script. And you just saw the way Spielberg was thinking and how he connected with the script, and the way he always had a habit when he moves his hands, so he's just like turning his hands in front of his face as he's really going to depth about the reason why he's made certain decisions. So when it comes to you, find the moment that helps you zone in and just geek out about being you. And it's normally quite obvious. It's normally just thing that happens through instinct, and follow that kind of that feeling. Go with it, because so many people get distracted by so many things. And whether it's social media, say they're doing their artwork, they'll have social media turned on and stuff, and it's kind of hard to find your rhythm at times when you have so many things, alerts, etc., just going off. It turn everything off and try and find that moment that really gets you into the zone, because like everyone works at different ways. Like sometimes people having music on really helps them just fully knuckle down. Sometimes having an audience really helps people. Take me for example. I really zone in when I'm like, this is just because of my sport background and my passion for being around people and talking to people. And it's the same thing with kids, etc. That like when I'm talking to my little cousin and teaching her things, explaining things to her, and most importantly also learning from her as well, and seeing her geek out about what she loves to do. And like I can't wait to be a father. Like being a father is going to be the greatest thing ever. And it's about figuring out how to just have fun and being in the moment, doing what you love the most. So like that was the one thing when it came to Spielberg. Of all of my years of reading about him, trying to understand his ability to tell story, the one thing that always came to mind was just how much he was just zoned in and just geeking out about having fun making film. And I'm pretty sure he's 70 this year, or he's just past 70. And quote me if I'm wrong, but the man is still just doing the craft and he's just making the most of it, and that's what I love to see the most. So find the moment that's for you, whatever it is, and just take it from there. Right, so the next one, this is like a guy who I have so much respect for, and it's that's the word there that I want to talk about, is respect. And this was a film, and it's a true story, and it's an absolutely amazing story. Whoops, sorry about that. Sound effects made by my computer. So it's a guy called Carl Brashear. So Carl Brashear was a deep sea Navy diver, and it's the film that came out was a film called Men of Honor, and it came out I think in the early 2000s. It might be late 90s. However, my dad bought me this film when I was about, I don't know, maybe about eight or nine, and I'm not sure if it was this film that sparked just how close my relationship is with my father, and why I've always made sure to not how can I say it, I've always wanted to make my family proud of me, etc., but most importantly make sure that I'm proud of myself. And it's okay to be proud. Like some people think it's selfish to be proud. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your accomplishments and doing what you want to do. However, watching this film as a kid, it taught me respect. It taught me how to be loyal to your family, be loyal to people, and respect the people around you no matter where they're from, and how to talk to people, not just ignoring people just because you think your first judgment is correct on them, and learning how not to judge people. And Carl Brashear was this, he was from South Africa, and I think, let me double check, let's see what, so I'll go into depth about what Carl Brashear did, etc., within the film, and what his kind of story was. But yeah, so Carl Brashear, so he was born in 19th of January 1931, and so Carl Brashear was a highly decorated United States Navy sailor. He was a U.S. Navy master diver, rising to the position in 1970s, having an amputated left leg, and the film Men of Honor was based on his life. And it was just such an amazing story in which he's going against all the odds, battling racism and trying to make his name in the Navy. And no matter what, he always respected everyone around him, and until he earned the respect from others. And that was his focus on his career, was to get what he deserved. And when it came to the concept of respect, that thing made me learn to, how can I say it, learn to grow up. And so when I was younger, I grew up a lot quicker than I think than a lot of other people. In terms of I was a lot more mature for my age than most people, and I really focused on making sure that I treated my family the correct way, but most importantly, I didn't let anyone down. And I always knew that my family wouldn't be worried about, like, they never cared about me letting them down in the sense, but like obviously you want your parents to be happy with you, whether you're like if you only have one parent or whatever the case may be, whether you're living with your grandparents, you obviously want to make people proud of you and be happy with what your accomplishments is. But this legend of a man, Carl, he really taught me how to just appreciate everything that you've got and understand that you never know, like, life's too short, things happen in the world. Make the most of the time you have with your family, give them the respect that they deserve. Like, I understand that sometimes it's hard, depending on your circumstances and your family, etc. And it's not the easiest at times. Everyone goes through certain experiences, and I completely respect that, and I completely acknowledge that, and I understand where people are coming from in these cases. But if you can learn the obvious thing of appreciating people, the better this will help with your career. For any career, it's not just art. But if you can respect people, it helps towards your network, being able to connect with people, being able to talk with people, and not like, that's the thing. Like, so many people on LinkedIn, like, there's thousands of people on LinkedIn, thousands of people, billions of people worldwide on social media, and so many people follow people, and they then expect people to follow them back. And I'm so confused. It's like, you follow someone because you want to follow people. You don't. Like, obviously there's ways to gain your following and stuff, but you should do things naturally. And the more natural things are, the better things will be, and the more happy you will be, because you've done it the right way. And that's what I wanted to talk about Carl Bashir, because the guy went through so much in his career, and he fought against the odds to really get things on an even playing field, and I completely admire what the guy did for his career. Next one is a complete obvious one, and a bit of a change of pace. So as always, J.K. Rowling. How could I never? Wait, what do you mean? How could I never? I'm confused. So how could I not talk about J.K. Rowling on the podcast, being such a Harry Potter fanatic that the way I am? Oh, there's so many. By the way, there's so many great TV shows on lately. Like His Dark Materials. Oh my gosh, I am loving it so much. Highly recommend everyone who's tuning in. If you've not watched His Dark Materials, check it out. And so J.K. Rowling. So the one thing, like, this is going to sound so obvious, but so the three words that I kind of feel that I want to talk about is writing, the ability to explore, but most importantly, your ability to explore your thoughts. So when it comes to creating artwork, but most importantly, understanding who you are as a person, having the power to just simply pick up a notebook. It's not even power, it's simply just writing things down goes such a long way. And I understand that obviously, once again, we all think differently. However, once you write things down, it really helps give you kind of structure, and it really helps you out, and structure goes such a long way. And if you're ever struggling with anything mentally, or maybe you're wanting to try and figure out how to make a better art piece, write things down, get your thoughts rolling. Sometimes the best thoughts come at the most randomest of times. Sometimes it's during the night and you've just woken up, and then boom, it just hits you. You're just like, well, where on earth did that come from? And you just get so confused. But then you're just like, right, let's just write that down. And like, say if you're writing a book, I'm writing a book, for example, and I'll continue writing this book for many years to come until I master it and lay it out perfectly. But the way my thoughts come is just whenever it comes. You have to do it naturally. A lot of people try to force things and force their creativity, but yeah, like, the best thoughts come when you're not actually overthinking it. Sometimes it's taking a walk. Maybe you have a dog and you want to go walk the dog. Sometimes walking the dog or whatever, going outside, getting some fresh air is the thing that helps you get your imagination flowing, allows you to explore new worlds, think of different things, become naturally more creative. And that's why I always highly recommend reading and giving a book a read. Even if you just read one book a year, that's a massive step for so many people, because it really opens up your like I said, once again, your imagination. You begin to try to interpret how the characters look, how would they maybe dress, how does the person walk, is this person have a certain kind of way about them, like how would they kind of maybe pick up a sword, do they have a certain amount of confidence, are they quite conservative, are they intelligent with their approach when they're going to attack the character, and all these thoughts go through your head once, and then getting them on paper, then you can keep them and store them, and all this comes into play when it comes to creating that better story, a more convincing art piece. And like that's who I am when it comes to art. Like I'm all about, like, oh yes, technical stuff is great in that, but I'm all about the thought process. I'm all about the making of a truly beautiful piece of art and understanding the art piece rather than just making it for the sake of a technical purpose. And I have complete respect for that as well. Like I get it, but I'm very more in the creative kind of aspect of that kind of thing, if you know what I mean. So giving things a go, so writing things down, and it doesn't have to always make sense. Like, people think there always has to be structure. Sometimes just writing a word, like one word has, like they said, like one picture has like, what's it? It's like 1,000 words. So one picture or something, like, or a photo tells 1,000,000 words. I don't know. You know what I mean? That famous phrase, the one that we're talking about. You understand what I mean? And it just helps so much. And like these, like I said, so when it comes to idols, once again, figure out how to get them, well, like try and break them down, try and understand, right, how have they got to where they are, what kind of skills have they developed through their times of pursuing their career, and apply it to your own craft, because everyone has something to say. Like that's the thing that I don't that's why I never discourage anyone, or ever put anyone down, or like the one thing is that you can learn something from any profession, and it'll be so how can I say it, beneficial to your career. So for example, I've done many types of jobs, from selling clothes to stocking shelves and stuff, you name it, I've pretty much done it. And each time you learn things, such as stocking shelves, right, you have a routine, you have a certain weight limit for certain things, certain position, the way you rotate the box in order for it to make sure it's stabilized, so many things that once applied to other things and being consistent, you then become natural at it, because it becomes a habit and it ingrains it into your mind. And all these things then once again carry on into your artwork. So being consistent, getting into a routine, getting structure, being able to appreciate time management. And once again, it's acknowledging that all these things work together. And that's the thing. So if you're tuning in right now, who's your idol? Who do you look up to? And then answer the most important question: why do you look up to them? What have you gained from them? And note it down, and use writing as a way to express yourself. So that's the thing. So we've got Kobe. Kobe Bryant's the next person I want to talk about. But so far we've got, like I said, we've got Steven Spielberg, we've got Carl Bashir, and we've got J.K. Rowling. So the next person, once again, like I said, we've got Kobe Bryant. So I'm a massive fan of basketball. I'm a massive fan of sport, and there's a few names I'm going to be mentioning today, and also a bunch of movies. So stay tuned. You're going to want to tune in, because I love talking about this. This is where I just get into my zone. So Kobe Bryant, personally the hardest worker to ever live, in my opinion. So obviously we all have our say in that question. But Kobe Bryant was the first person to ever be compared to Michael Jordan. As in, like, to be even compared to Michael Jordan is just like, that's the most respect you could get at the time. But Kobe Bryant did not want to be compared to Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan, once again, is another person I'm going to talk about, because he's another person I looked up to and learned so much about. But the thing I learned about the most from Kobe Bryant was not just about how relentless he was, but it was his ability to stay focused on the task at hand, and appreciating that in order to get where you have to go, you have to give up certain things. And his focus on simply just basketball, nothing else, simply got him where he wanted to go. And because he focused on his craft so much, he gave it the time he deserved. And most importantly, he focused on the small things. Because the thing is that we tend to forget that the small things that we normally address as small things are actually the bigger things. Such as when you're taking a basketball shot. focusing on the form, the way you position your hands. All these things encompass the way you follow through in order to make the shot the best result as possible. And this once then again goes into your art craft. So when you're sculpting and say you're working ZBrush and you're really trying to master, say, anatomy, and you're trying to figure out how the forms all come together and to master the silhouette and the actual feel and look of the character, ability to not just rush the stroke but understand why you've put the stroke there, but also not being too precious as well. There's that healthy balance in between, because you have to get the confidence to do, say if you're adding the clay on, you need to get the confidence to realise that it's a process, but you also have to be focused on understanding, right, so why am I putting it there? And then once again, you're getting your brain, getting the cogs turning and thinking about the whole process as a whole, and then that will let you develop more because you're learning, you're thinking. And that's why small tasks is actually really beneficial. So if you're tuning in and you're wondering, right, how do I get better? Well, do small tasks. Like at the moment, I'm doing a big task. So then what I'll do next time, small task. And then it's that ability to kind of know how to learn, how to think things. And his best skill was his ability to how to approach things. So approaching tasks, whether it's the basics such as your layups, such as your jump shot. Once again, it applies to your artwork, your basic and fundamental drawing, your life drawing. Is it your environment art? So your basics of modelling, your basics of texturing, basics of lighting, getting the basics done right and being the best possible at that. Because if you get the basics right, everyone says it, you've got the hardest part done. So personally, I think the basics is like 90% and the hard part is 10%, because the hard part is normally the basics, and a lot of people forget that. If you can master the basics in your craft, you're instantly ahead of everyone else, because so many people get caught up with details and they're like, I want to add this, I want to add fog, special effects, boom, 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 you name it, and they get so sidetracked. And that's the thing, that when it came to Kobe Bryant, I was like, damn, that guy just works, and most importantly, he just loves basketball. And like that was like the most beautiful. Like that's what I say every day. That I, like when I'm doing a podcast or when I'm talking to someone who has a passion for something. There's no better feeling than seeing someone passionate about something and seeing them geek out. And like I was doing teaching yesterday, and it was the first time in a long time that I was teaching. So I was teaching a class and teaching in 3D and stuff. And one of the girls, she was quite nervous, just in general, talking to people. And so I came over to start teaching and explaining Maya to her. And and the way I always think is that, right, so most people normally teach things very kind of robotic in a way. So I was like trying to figure out what type of person she was so I could teach her the right way. And the one obvious thing that always worked with me is when someone starts geeking out about something. So she was making an art piece and stuff. So when I was with her, I was like started geeking out about her work, and then I saw her confidence rise, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome, this is so cool. Like she's happy, and then she started talking. I was like, hell yeah, this is what it's all about. And she just started having a blast, and I was just like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I love helping people. Nothing better. Sorry, I just get kind of sidetracked. You know what I'm like. God, doing podcasts is great. I love talk shows. And right, so before I go into a bit of a tangent, as usual, sometimes it does happen. I do apologise. Right, so the next person that I want to talk about, I'm trying to think, who should we go? Which order do we want to? Actually, let's go to an artist who I've watched for years. So the next person I want to talk about is an artist. He's a card artist. He's a legend of a guy. He worked at Weta Digital. His name is John Troy Nickel, the one and only. If you've never checked out John Troy Nickel's work, what on earth are you doing? You've got to be checking out John Troy Nickel's work. Amazing card artist. And John Troy Nickel has his stream, so I was actually tuning into his stream this morning. So John, by the way, awesome stream, as always. And he's streaming lots of RPG work at the moment. But I've been watching John's how can I say it, live stream, I think 6 years, and the guy's amazing. And he said one point that pretty much changed my life in many ways in terms of the way I thought about things. And it was because of this that I kind of opened, like things kind of just opened up. And it was such an obvious point, but it was the first time I ever heard someone say it. And that's probably actually why it wasn't obvious, I don't know. But he said something that really kind of just stuck with me. And it was the fact that he said, he didn't care working a normal job as long as he was constantly focusing on his craft, that one day he was able to work on the job that he wanted to do. So obviously at the time he was just saying he was scraping signs in New Zealand, and he was just cleaning signs, a normal job, but it allowed him the time to think about his characters, and it was characters what he cared about the most. Like he didn't want to just do, he didn't want to do environment, he didn't want to just do any normal job. Like he didn't care about the concept of experience. Like obviously experience is great in that for some people. Some people it isn't. Like for me personally, I just like I know what I want to do. So if I want to do something, trust me, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna let. I don't care what anyone says about what you have to do. If I want to do something, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it the way that I feel is right for me. Obviously, I'll learn from other people. I'll listen to people. I'll accept people's advice at times and stuff. But most importantly, I know what my gut wants. I know what my heart wants, and I stick with it. And this is why I had so much appreciation when John said this. And well, it goes by Troy. So what Troy was saying, and it was just the fact that it's like you don't have to. How can I say it? Like so many people think that they need a job right now, or they need to be where they're at right now, but that's never the case. It's literally just knowing what you want, and as long as you stick it, trust me, you'll get it. It just happens. It literally, hard work, as I said in previous podcasts, hard work never lies. It's the most honest, reliable source out there. And it's just being patient with things. Trust me, if you're tuning in right now and you're like, it's a struggle, and you're wondering how on earth to get there, trust me, it will have happened eventually. Give it time. Think about things. Keep up doing what you're doing. Like, I believe in you, and I don't even know you. If you're listening to my voice right now and you're just like, trust me, I believe in you. Like, even if you don't know me, I know you can do it. And I know everyone who's ever will listen to my podcast, and everyone who's out there trying to figure out what they'd like. I believe in all of you, so just keep working on it and trust in it. And when John was talking about this, it just opened my eyes so much more, and I had so much respect for him when he said that. So obviously a lot of people say, like I said, going back to that point, experience is great and stuff, but you don't have to rush things. Do it the way that you think is naturally right for you. Obviously we learn different things, and whether maybe like having a certain experience is going to help you, like it might help you a lot. Like everyone works differently. That's the thing. Like it's so easy for so many people to do this and do that, but it doesn't work for everyone. So acknowledge that and take it step at a time, and you'll do just fine. Right, once again, when it comes to the Shootout podcast, we can never talk about the Shootout podcast unless we talk about the one and only Michael Jordan. So, Michael Jordan, pretty sure everyone who's tuning in right now knows who Michael Jordan is. This is the whole debate. I personally, I don't know, it's like, I always think Michael and Kobe are the greatest two basketballers of all time. I think it's like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and then fifth is LeBron James. Like I think that's the five greatest players of all time. But then again, people will start bringing the argument of Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, you name it. And but Michael Jordan, the one thing I want to talk about him, like obviously we can talk about how competitive he was and how much passion he had for things. But the one thing I want to talk about him that I learned the most was his level of professionalism and his ability to like always make sure that he was that he always dressed to impress. He always made sure that things were consistent. He made things that were kind of perfect. Like he was a perfectionist. Like he was like OCD. Like he was like so like meticulous with the way he did things. He wanted people to make sure that they had the right feelings towards him, and that nobody could doubt him whatsoever. Like so every time Michael Jordan was in public, he would always be wearing a suit. So every time he's talking on social media or he's talking to people, he's respecting people, he's understanding everything. So it's that, once again, going back to a similar point earlier, it's respecting everyone and not being going harsh on social media and stuff. So if you're trying to, how can I say it, get better as a person, focus on being just professional, being respectful, being a good person, and just being kind. It's so obvious, but so many people get sidetracked and they forget. They start saying things that they shouldn't have said, and this was the thing that I thought Michael Jordan. That's why a lot of people say Michael Jordan had the it factor. So he was the guy. He was just the guy. That's why everyone was just like, he was just the persona of perfection. He did everything right because he thought about everything as a whole, and like he thought about the branding. He thought about the advertisements when he was getting his sponsors, etc. He thought how to say things, how to speak to people, and he thought about how you talk to people, how you dress to impress. All these things come together that can help you get better at certain things. But also, once again, the thing though that I also want to bring up here though is that you have to be comfortable with yourself. So whatever makes you comfortable, do it. Like if you feel more if you want to wear like it's obviously it's good to dress smart and stuff, and like that's a great point, and I understand it because obviously you want people to be impressed. But most importantly, do what you feel is right for you and makes you feel comfortable, because if you're more comfortable, you're going to be more happy. And that's the one thing as well, like you have to be comfortable with who you are. So believe in yourself and do what makes it right for you. Okay. So the next guy that I want to talk about is so we've got two more let's see, 1, 2. So we've got two more people that I want to talk about. So Coach Ken Carter. So once again, another basketball. What's the chances of that? So Coach Ken Carter. So he coached an incredible team in Richmond, and basically, true story once again. Because obviously I was brought up with sport, and I was brought up through a lot of DVDs that were always based around true stories. And my dad bought me this when I was literally just on a basketball crave. So I was literally basketball all the time, just playing basketball every day, all day, literally going to basketball at 6 a.m, just shooting hoops. And my dad gave me this for, I think was it Christmas or for a birthday? It was one of the other. And by gosh, did this wake me up. This is the first time ever that I found structure, or like I found, like obviously I think I got this after I watched Men of Honor. Like I learned a lot. Obviously, like I learned how to, like everything kind of like obviously I got a kick up the butt when I how can I say it? Like I had a wake up call when I watched Men of Honor. Like I started respecting everyone, because obviously I was a kid. Like, as a kid, you all do you just do kid things, and I started maturing more when I watched that and stuff. And then I can't remember the age exactly, but when I started watching this movie, it helped me get structure in my life and let me realize what was available to me, and what was surrounded by, and I learned how to be honest with people and stuff. And honesty, once again, is actually another point I want to make in a minute. But yeah, so growing up with watching Coach Carter, it was the fact, once again, it was about people being brought up in Richmond, and it was an amazing story, and talking about like no matter where you live, you can always live your dream. And all these great young basketballers, great talent, fulfilling their dream, going after for what they want, and then also landing the scholarships that they also wanted to achieve. And it was just awesome seeing that, and getting structure. So being able to plan, being able to be efficient, understanding how to write a list. But also once again, going back to that important point that I learned, everyone always writes so many lists, but it's like, it's great to write a list, but if you can just write 3 points and stick to the list, then that's an accomplishment. That's the next step, because you've actually been able to accomplish your goals. It's so easy to write 50 things on a list, but unless you actually get any of them done, then you've not done anything. Like, you need to focus on getting things done step at a time, day at a time. That's literally my phrase. It's literally my quote. I say it every single day. Step at a time, day at a time, and life will be fine. Trust me. So before we get on to just saying a few films that I highly recommend everyone to watch, the one thing I want to talk about and finish this kind of list is just the concept of family. And obviously, once again, we all go through different experiences, but the one thing that I learned is the two most important words. Well, not most important. Obviously, lots of words are important, but loyalty, honesty, and being able. Well, loyalty and honesty are like the important ones. Like, and then I wrote as well, believe. So believing in yourself. You just got to keep believing, no matter what. When hard times go, you just keep believing. You just keep going. It doesn't matter. No matter what, you just keep saying it. say it into your head until it just becomes literally just, it's ingrained. Like I said into my head for so many years that I will never quit, I will never quit, I will never give up, and it just ingrained. And so many people were like, realized like how much like I wanted to be successful, because like it was just ingrained. Like I was just reading all the time, understanding how to get where I needed to go, making sure I had the right mentality always in my head. When people were around me that I didn't want, that were negative in my life, get rid of them. Boom, gone. Like I don't need them anymore. They're distracting me. They're a hindrance to my goals, and most importantly my happiness. And going back to, once again, to those 2 points, like I know this is a lot to take in, and even if you just learn one of these things or appreciate one of these today, that's a massive step, and I completely respect it. And but loyalty and honesty, like, oh my gosh, like honesty is like the most like there's so many important things, but honesty is so powerful. And you've got to be honest with yourself, and you've got to be honest with people around you. Like, leave egos at the door. Don't have to think you have to prove anything. Just be yourself. And the more truth that you have, the more truthful you are, the better life is, I promise you. Like, this is the hardest thing that so many people struggle with, and that's generally being honest with themselves. So if you've got a passion for something and you generally have it, don't doubt for a second in your head that you can't do it. Be 100% honest with yourself, knowing that you love character art, you love concept art, you love animation, you love making environments to and it fulfills you so much. Then that means you do environments because you're being honest with yourself. You know that that's what you want, and you just do it, and you keep doing it. It doesn't matter if you're not earning a lot of money for now. Who cares about the money? Yes, we need money to survive, and money is important, but don't let that be the thing that dictates your life. Like, I know you guys can do it. So just keep working on it, and keep figuring out how to get where you want to go. And the thing that's going to guide you is being 100% honest with you. So if you're trying to get better, or honest with yourself. So, right, what do I need to improve in? Also, geek out. Like, there's nothing wrong. So if you're having a blast, and it doesn't even have to be perfect, who cares? Just scribble, go doodle, do a nice little doodle, whatever it is. It's okay, just relax and have a blast. But you've got to be honest with yourself. Once you can learn that, trust me, life will just, life's your oyster, as the phrase goes. And once again, like I said, so when it comes to all these people, so obviously we all have different people that we are inspired by. So who's the people that inspired you? That's your task today. You don't need to take part, but it'd be great to see if you did. If you're listening to this right now, write down a few names who inspire you, and write down why. And make sure to try and focus on just one of those tasks. So if somebody inspires you and it's their work ethic and learning how to be obviously working harder and working smarter, then that's your goal for the day. It doesn't even have to, just try it for one day, see what happens. You might get better results. Is it learning how to be more confident with yourself, talking to people? Try it for one day, put yourself in the deep end. Maybe go if you're a guy, go talk to a girl, or vice versa, or whatever your interest is. Talk to a guy or a girl, whoever it is, on the street. Go say hello to people. Get out of your comfort zone, and it doesn't have to be like anything seriously pressured. Like, there's no pressure on you whatsoever. Just try and realize though that it's taking that first step is the hardest part, and once you do that first step, you'll do amazing. So, before I finish today's episode, these are some films. You guys have probably heard of at least half of them, or if not all of them. But these were films I loved growing up, and films that taught me a great lesson. So once again, so it's Men of Honor, Coach Carter, Good Will Hunting, Knights of the South Bronx, Aquila and the Bee, Remember the Titans, Rocky, and then last but not least, we've got Pursuit of Happiness. So if there's a film in there that you maybe want to go check out, that's like I said, so we've got Men of Honor, Coach Carter, Good Will Hunting, Knights of the South Bronx, Aquila and the Bee, Remember the Titans, classic Rocky Balboa, hell yeah, and then Pursuit of Happiness. So thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in today. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe. You know you want to press that lovely subscribe button and be a part of the channel. And like I said, oh, by the way, I'm not sure if well, actually, you wouldn't have said that. I don't know why. So I made a tweet, and obviously, if you guys are listening on YouTube, you wouldn't have saw the tweet. So I'm actually going to be changing the podcast up. So I hope you guys enjoy it, because I'm going to be changing it up a bit and bringing a big twist to it. So I really hope you guys stay tuned for that. Obviously, this is episode 69. Stay tuned for 59, sorry. We're getting too carried away. So episode 59. Episode 60 is going to be uploaded either tonight or tomorrow. So if you're listening to this right now, hopefully tomorrow. And we have an incredible, insane character artist who came on the podcast on the weekend called Helena Shin. It was so awesome to talk to her. So stay tuned for that. And with that said, I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.